Hello, and welcome to the Mommy Escape Time podcast. I am Lauren, your host, and I have a 1-year-old son. I started this podcast for any mother who might feel alone in their journey through motherhood. Becoming a mom is hard no matter how you get there, and this podcast is about the mom stuff that comes up in our lives. Listen, enjoy, and connect with us on the Mommy Escape Time podcast. Hello, and welcome to the Mommy Escape Time podcast. I am Lauren, your host, and I am joined again with Kate. Hello, Kate.
Hi, Lauren. Thanks for having me.
Yes, and we are continuing Kate's story about her trip to Disney. Last week, we talked all about the different rides she took her 3-year-old daughter on and husband. I mean, it's not like he just took, it's not like he was just standing on the side.
That's right.
But now we're going to talk about the dining experience, because that was a big part also of your planning and experience also, because taking a toddler to a sit-down restaurant can be challenging. Maybe not for you. It would be for me.
It is.
Not that he's bad. He just doesn't like to sit. So I can't even think of a restaurant that I've taken him to recently, but it's just not the thing that we do with him right now. So I'm just going to remind everyone that you went in September and you stayed at Shades of Green, and you were there with your husband, yourself, and your 3-year-old daughter. So we'll start talking about the dining. Did you have the Disney dining plan, or did you just pay as you went?
So since we stayed at Shades of Green and it's not owned by Disney, it's owned by the Army, we were not eligible to do the dining plan. And in my trip planning, I had researched all the dining plans and I was all ready to go. And I called Shades of Green and they were like, yeah, we don't do that. And I was like, okay, great. I wish I, like an hour of my life back. So we just paid as we went.
Paid as you went. And so now you could still book your reservations 180 days in advance.
Yes.
Which is 6 months, 6 months, right?
Yes, 6 months. And some of them, like Cinderella's Castle, you have to log on, 6 months to the day and all that. And if you're staying at a Disney resort, and Shades of Green did it as well, the first day that you check in, that day 6 months ahead, you can log in or call and book your whole vacation days.
Okay, so you don't have to go on like every day to keep booking the next day.
Exactly. So that was nice, and that way you're actually booking, farther out than 6 months. It might be six months in a week for some of them towards the end of your vacation.
I'm always planning that far in advance. So
yeah, and this was the first time, my husband in the military, that we've ever booked a vacation this far in advance. So it was pretty crazy to put it on the calendar that far out.
Yeah.
It's several months away.
I know.
But,
you don't normally know when he's even going to be home or not. So
exactly.
Yeah, that's a real surreal feeling. Okay, so then how did you go about picking the restaurants that you were going to go to?
So I really lucked out in that my sister took her son 2 or 3 years ago. And so I really drew on a lot of her experiences. And she had a lot of recommendations for me. And I basically just looked at, okay, what is at each park? Like, what are the character meals were the big thing? Because, again, this trip was about the princesses, interaction with the characters, more so than, big rides and that sort of thing. So we knew we wanted to devote a lot of our vacation to this part of the experience. So the first night we arrived, I had actually booked a dinner at Chef Mickey's, and that is at the Contemporary Resort. So we could go and eat there without being in one of the parks and using one of our ticket days. So that was kind of neat.
And that's a character meal.
Yes, character meal with Mickey and Minnie and friends. And that was great. That was a really neat introduction for our daughter to, like, we're in Disney World. Oh my gosh, dinner with Mickey Mouse. So that was neat, and that was a buffet. That was good. I would recommend that if you want, a character meal outside of the parks.
And that might actually help because you're not using a day ticket and you're kind of feeling out your child to see how they're going to do with the characters. So you're kind of like doing both things at the same time. And even though, yes, I'm sure the meal is expensive, at least if you totally knew she was going to be like screaming and crying at all the characters, then maybe you might
Yeah, you could
rethink
cancel the other ones.
rethink what you would be doing in the week.
Exactly. And you can cancel your reservations. I think it's up to 24 hours ahead of time. And if you don't cancel, I think that you have to pay $40 if you're within the 24-hour window.
Yeah.
You're a no-show. Um, so that's not bad. And we actually did end up canceling. At the end of the week, I had booked the Tusker House, which is another character meal with Minnie and Mickey. And by that point in the week, we had already dined with Mickey Mouse twice, and it was just too much. So we decided to cancel that, and it was no problem. We didn't get charged or anything because it was more than 24 hours.
So when you first planned, did you like over plan and overbook? And then as you went along, like closer to the date, did you like start canceling some?
Yes, exactly. So I wasn't sure, I kind of wanted to leave all my options open until I had to commit to what days we were going to what parks. So we actually did Universal while we were there, and I wasn't sure which day we wanted to do that. So I actually booked 2 identical days at the Magic Kingdom, and then ended up canceling one, and we ended up going to Universal that day.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and so I had to commit when it came time to booking the fast passes,
Right.
because you can only book for as many days as you have tickets. So at that point, I had to lock in. But it was nice before that to keep going back and forth about how we were going to do it. And
And
I'm sure I made somebody very happy when those reservations
right.
freed up.
But that also, like when you're there and it's like within like the 2 day mark before you're going, even like you might be able to find like the time that you want or, adjust what your plan is because someone has canceled so you can get that
Exactly.
reservation.
Tweak it a little bit.
Right.
Right. That's exactly right. Yep.
Yeah. So was your plan to do like a sit down meal every day or twice a day? I'm sure not 3 times a day.
Yeah, no, definitely not. So just in general, I tried to only plan the mornings like through lunch because I didn't know how my daughter was going to do it because at that point she was no longer napping at home, but it hadn't been that long that she had stopped napping, and I wasn't sure if just the overstimulation she was going to need to go back to the hotel and take a nap or just how it was going to go. So our days pretty much ended at 1 o'clock, and usually we did more than that. We got a stroller that she could take a nap in and everything, but there was nothing on the schedule. So I knew we wanted to do some of the breakfasts. I knew I definitely wanted to do the Crystal Palace at the Magic Kingdom, and that's with Winnie the Pooh and friends.
Mm-hmm.
And that was adorable and really neat. And I knew we wanted to eat in Cinderella's castle, and frankly, it's just cheaper to do them as breakfasts.
Yeah.
So that's why I planned those meals for that. And the same thing at Epcot, we did Akershus. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, Akershus, Aker.
Akershus. I'm sure there's a Nordic way to say that
I
I'm
know.
not saying it correctly. I apologize. We did that as a breakfast too.
And that's with Disney princesses again.
That is with Disney princesses. So for that one, you go in and you meet Belle and have your picture with Belle. And then you go in and sit down, and that had they put a big platter on the plate for family style of eggs and breakfast meats,
Mm.
and it was delicious. And then there was a little buffet area for like some waffles and muffins and fruit and stuff like that. Um, and that was, I want to say, gosh, Aurora, the Little Mermaid, Snow White, um,
Sleeping Beauty,
odd,
right?
yes, yeah, basically all the princesses were there.
Yeah.
And I felt like that one had the most face time with the princesses. They did a little parade where they would say, okay, like go to the nearest princess. And then they would kind of like parade all the little kids around the place. And we were there long enough to do that twice. And at all the character meals, the staff are really great at coming up to your table and just making sure that your child has seen everyone who's there. Um, just in case your table got missed for some reason, as they kind of make their way through the room to come up and say hello. And it's so impressive. So, like, those actors and actresses who are these characters talk to your child as if they are the character. And it's just super impressive. They're just so sweet, and the questions they ask, and they interact with your child as that person. So your kids get to see, the princesses that they play all the time, come to life. So that was worth it for us. So I would definitely recommend that one in Epcot. Cinderella's Castle. The biggest thing there was just being in the castle. That was super neat. My daughter still talks about how she ate in Cinderella's castle. That when you walk in underneath, before you walk into where you eat, and you take a picture with Cinderella, and then that menu is an a la carte menu. And another side note is, my daughter definitely did not eat as much as she normally does, just from being distracted by all the characters walking around. So be ready for that. We basically got like halfway through the week and we're like, gosh, she's only eating like 1.5 meals a day. This is not good.
Well, it's also like 95 degrees and 100% humidity out. So no one really wants to
Exactly.
eat when they're that hot. They just want to drink water. So,
Exactly. And so then at Hollywood Studios, we had lunch at Hollywood and Vine,
mhm.
and that was also with Mickey and friends, and that was kind of neat because they were all dressed in Halloween attire,
Mm.
kind of like spooky little outfits, and that was cute. And another kind of caution, I messed up in the booking of that meal because I didn't realize that when you make a reservation for one of the character meals, that's when you kind of check in, and then they'll say, okay, great, like we'll call you when your table's ready. And you can wait for, I think we waited for almost 20 minutes
Mm.
for that lunch. And I think the lunch was a little bit later, so maybe 1 or 1:30, and it was hot. I think that was our first day at the park,
Mm.
and Izzy was just in a bad mood. And I had booked, I think it was the Little Mermaid show too soon after the meal. So I
Wow.
looked at the clock kind of halfway through the meal and got really nervous and was like, oh no, we need to eat faster, basically. Like, we're not going to make the next show. And in hindsight, we should have just seen a later show, or, come back another day to see that show. We should have taken our time, and we're paying all this money for this lunch. So I caution everyone to make sure that you leave enough time, basically. I would leave
Right.
2 hours
Yeah.
from the start of your reservation until the next
Yeah, because you think like,
obligation.
yeah, you think I made a reservation, so when you get there, you'll just walk in. And
Right.
I hear a lot that like that's how it is like in the morning, but as the day progresses, like they get further and further behind. So, yeah.
That's exactly right. The breakfast, it wasn't a problem at all. We did basically just kind of walk in. Yeah, and the lunch, not so much. um, and then, let's see, I think that was, okay, so then the other thing we did was Beast's Castle. And my sister had told me, oh, it's really neat. It's not a character meal, so it's very affordable. And she had eaten lunch there, I think, with her son when they went. And I looked up the menu online and I saw that the lunch, a typical lunch item to order, because it's one of those restaurants where you walk in and you order at the little, kiosk thing,
Right.
and then it's kind of like a cafeteria, and then they
Right.
bring your food out to you. And I looked, and the average price was like $12. And I was like, oh, that's perfect. That's how much every other lunch place costs. So, we should eat there. And then I was, doing my planning. And I said, oh, well, why don't we eat dinner there the night of the Halloween party? Thinking that it was the same. And we walked up. And they said, oh, well, it's a set menu. And so I was like, okay, that's different. We sat down and they handed us the menu, and it was like a gazillion dollars. And, you chose your appetizer, you chose your entree. And I think there might have been like a set dessert or something. And that was more expensive than eating in Cinderella's castle. And my husband looked at me and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. And so we both ordered the filet mignon because it was the same amount of money as the pasta or whatever. And we figured we might as well order the steak. And it was amazing. It was delicious. And it was actually my husband's favorite meal that we had there. So it was kind of a happy accident, even though we didn't want to think about how much it cost. But that's okay. It was a good experience.
And at least now you would know, hey, let's not do that for dinner.
Exactly. And so that was the first day that we did Magic Kingdom. When we did Magic Kingdom the second day, and I had booked lunch there, which is the proper meal to do there, if you want it to be affordable. So there's 3 different rooms in the Beast Castle, and one of them could be a little bit scary. Izzy was definitely scared to walk in there, because it was set up like the West Wing, in the Beast's castle, like very dark, and it was really neat. And I'm glad that we walked in just to take a peek. But I think if we were assigned to eat in there, it would have been an issue.
Now, did you get assigned which room you were sitting in?
We did. They set up. They gave us a table, but I'm sure if you
Right.
and it might have even been because she was little that they put us in one of the other rooms. I'm sure if you went and said, "Oh, my child's terrified to eat in here," I'm sure they would make a change.
Too
for
bad
you.
for you. Yeah.
Right. Deal with it, kiddo.
All right.
So, and then there's the big ballroom that Beast and Belle dance in is one of the rooms to eat in, and then there's another room, and I can't remember what they called it, but that was where we had dinner. And there's just a bunch of different paintings on the wall, and in the middle of the room, it's almost like something that would be in a music box, but just huge, like
Okay.
a slowly turning Beast and Belle dancing. And we ate our dinner in there. And that was, at first I was like, oh, I wanted to be, in the ballroom, but I'm glad we were in that other room because it was a little bit cozier and it had a nice feel for our dinner. When we went back for lunch, we were in the main ballroom, and it might have also been because it was like, the kind of the cafeteria setting, but it felt like you were in a cafeteria, because it was that big open space. And that's, people were kind of rushing in and out. So it just felt a little bit different.
Right.
But it was neat to see. It looks really neat inside. In the evening at dinner time, you can meet the Beast. You don't have to eat there. You can just kind of walk up like it's a regular character meet and greet and wait in line and have your picture with the Beast if you'd like.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. My daughter was too scared, so
Of course.
Mommy got her picture with the Beast, and then we left.
So, what would you say was probably your maybe your favorites restaurants.
Um,
Maybe pick two.
okay, so I would say probably. So are you asking food or like character experience or like overall? Because
Overall, maybe
okay,
which one your daughter liked the best. What would you say the two are that she liked the best?
she definitely liked Cinderella's castle. Um, just being in the castle, I think, was worth it for her.
And I think
Um,
that's good because if you're going to spend all that money to go, you want to know that people like that the kids
that it's
actually
worth
enjoy it.
it,
Yeah.
right, and that she's going to remember it, right?
Right.
Exactly. Um, the other one was probably the Crystal Palace with Pooh and friends. We really like that, and she's 3-year-old, definitely into the Pooh phase. I'm not sure that next trip that would be something on our list, but
Right.
for the time it was great. And then I guess a close second would be the Akershus,
Yeah.
saying it wrong again.
The princess one in
um,
Norway, everyone knows.
yes, exactly. And I didn't realize that Anna and Elsa are not at that breakfast. They
No,
are
they're
right across the way. You can meet them, but they're not at the breakfast. So
yeah, I've been
don't
told
tell your
that
children that they are.
no, and I think that
Misstep.
that's done on purpose because I think that then it would be like the end all be all like reservation that everyone would have to have, and it would just I don't think it would go very well. So,
You're probably exactly right, and I didn't even think of it that way. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
and
Um,
also having I don't want to say all these kids having the freedom to run up to Anna and Elsa. I don't know if sharing them would be as
true. No one would want to
easy.
meet poor Sleeping Beauty.
Right, or they would just follow. There would just be this like train of 30 kids following either Anna or Elsa around, and yeah,
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, I guess it really comes down to what characters does your child really want to see? Because she really enjoyed seeing Mickey and Minnie, but
hmm
she's not super into them right now. Like she doesn't watch a lot of actually since that trip. She has started watching, Disney Junior and that sort of thing.
hmm
But at the time, she was more about, the princesses and Pooh. But maybe next trip she'll be more interested in, Mickey and Minnie, um, or some of the other characters. So
yeah,
I would I would go more with that. Um, the food was really good at all of them. And they do a really good job of making sure that there's kid friendly options. There was, for example, plain steamed broccoli everywhere was a choice at all the buffets.
you're so funny. You think that kids would like plain steamed broccoli,
But I mean, usually for children, it's like tater tots and chicken
right?
tenders. They're like the only choices, and you're like, great, like my child can't eat this like all week.
Right.
So they mix it, or applesauce, in addition to mac and cheese and chicken tenders that the kids can eat something.
Right.
So, but it was nice to see that
They
they made
had
an effort
healthy
there.
options
Yes,
available for
yeah,
kids. Yeah.
exactly. And then other places that we ate that were not character meals that are worth a mention that were great for a 3-year-old. We ate lunch at the Land in Epcot. Um, it was kind of like a cafeteria style buffet where they grow a lot of the produce and stuff there, and there were a lot of choices. Um, at Animal Kingdom, there was a barbecue place.
Oh yeah.
I think it was in
Flame
Africa.
Flame Tree Barbecue.
I think that was it.
Yeah.
Yes, and you just pick a spot to sit outside in the back, and that was nice. And she ate all of that meal, so that was great. And then in Italy, she had pizza, of course. That was delicious in Epcot.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Are there any restaurants you think next time that you want to try that you didn't try this time that you think like, oh, next time I bet she'll be able to handle this or something?
Yeah, not. We basically ate at all of them as far as character meals. Other restaurants, I kind of didn't even pay attention to non-character meal restaurants. They just kind of were background noise, just because there's so much there. Um,
And I think that's part of the thing with a toddler is that you can't just it's not as easy to just go in a sit down restaurant and sit and then be content. At least with a character meal, it's like an event. You know, it's not just eating and not just sitting for an hour or an hour and a half.
exactly. There's entertainment cycling through every 10 minutes. A new character comes out.
Right. So that helps. All right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for coming on and talking again to us about Disney. I could talk about it forever, of course, but so thank you for coming on, Kate, and hopefully we'll have you on for some future episodes. And I guess we'll talk to you all next week. Bye.